I met Layla during a physical therapy rotation after I tore my ACL in a pickup game. She wasn't my PT, she worked down the hall, mostly on recovery massage for athletes, but we kept crossing paths. First it was small talk at the water cooler. Then a joke about how I always limped in on the days she had her music turned up loud. The third week, she handed me a protein bar with a wink and said, "You're starting to look like you might make it out of here alive." She was quick, sharp, always a step ahead of the conversation. I liked that. I asked her out the next day. We dated for about a year before we moved in together. I was working in digital design and freelancing on the side. She had just been hired part-time by a semi-pro basketball team as a sports masseuse. I remember the night she told me how excited she was. It was a dream job for her, combining sports, health, and being part of something high-level. Her schedule was weird. Long evenings, weekends sometimes. But I didn't mind. I trusted her. And she loved the work. She came home buzzing with stories, which player was dealing with knee tightness, who always forgot to stretch, the weird things she overheard on the sidelines. She didn't gossip. Just shared the kind of stuff you tell someone when they're part of your world. We got married 2 years later. A backyard wedding, just under 40 people. I still remember the way she cried during her vows, not loud or dramatic, just one hand to her chest, eyes brimming. She looked at me like I was the only thing she could see. It felt like the start of something good. Life was steady after that. I started working full-time at a branding firm. Layla's team moved her up to full-time staff. She loved it, the energy, the travel, the players who started trusting her more than their own trainers. I was proud of her. We had our first daughter, Selah, 3 years into the marriage. 2 years later, our son, Micah, showed up early and loud, like he had a game to get to. Layla adjusted fast. Balanced bottles and bedtime with road schedules and morning stretches. She was organized, always had a bag packed, meals prepped, appointments color-coded. We shared everything. School drop-offs, laundry, weekend grocery runs. It wasn't always easy, but it was equal. We communicated, checked in, kept the house running. And when she was home, she was all in, making pancakes with the kids, crashing on the couch next to me with her head on my shoulder while a documentary played half-watched in the background. Sometimes she'd tell me stories about the guys on the team, funny moments, weird locker room habits, pre-game rituals. I'd laugh and ask questions. She never acted like there was anything strange about it. Just part of the job. Ours was a good life. Busy, a little chaotic, but full. Layla had purpose, I had stability, and our kids were growing up in a house with love in every room. Layla kept the mornings running like a machine. I'd be brushing Micah's hair while she packed Selah's lunch, calling out reminders while tying her own sneakers. Half the time, she was already in her workout gear by 7 a.m., water bottle filled, headphones charged, gym bag by the door. She had to stay fit for work, that was part of the deal. She always said you can't take care of athletes if you're too sore to lift their legs. She worked out with the team sometimes, too, part of their morning prep. Stretching routines, assisted recovery exercises, pre-practice warm-ups. It was all part of her job, and I respected it. She didn't play games, she didn't flirt. She was professional. At least, that's what I knew of her. I worked mostly from home. My office was tucked in a converted guest bedroom, filled with sketches, campaign notes, and the kids' handprints framed above my desk. Between client calls and brand decks, I handled most of the midday stuff, pickups if one of the kids got sick, groceries, dog walks. Layla made up for it with the evenings. She was tired most nights, especially on game days. I'd hear her car in the driveway just after 10, shoes kicked off by the door, shoulders sagging, but still smiling. She always made time for a quick check-in. Asked how the kids were, how my workday went, if I'd remembered to send in the form for Selah's school trip. She noticed everything, even when her eyes were half closed. On her off days, she was a different person. Lighter. She played board games with the kids on the living room floor, baked muffins she never ate, wore big socks and sang quietly to herself while doing dishes. We used to have late breakfast together on her Wednesdays off. French toast, always hers with strawberries, mine plain with syrup. We'd talk about nothing important, streaming shows, headlines, the kind of neighbor gossip you laugh about and forget 2 minutes later. Owen, my younger brother, sometimes teased me. "She works around pro athletes all day and still comes home to you," he'd joke. I'd laugh it off. "Guess I've got championship-level charm." Layla used to smirk at those jokes, never offended, just amused. She knew I trusted her. We had a system. We shared calendars, texted throughout the day, double-checked each other's schedules. When she traveled with the team, we FaceTimed every night before the kids' bedtime. Sometimes she'd be in a hotel room with a view of an arena, her laptop open, warm light behind her. She never rushed those calls. She wanted to hear about Selah's reading scores, Micah's new obsession with dinosaurs, what I'd made for dinner. Her team liked her. The players respected her. They called her Doc L, even though she wasn't technically a doctor. She said it was a respect thing. The coaching staff treated her like part of the inner circle. She once joked she knew more about their bodies than they did. Fridays were always the busiest. Layla usually had back-to-back appointments at the facility, player recovery blocks, taping prep, sometimes travel if the team had an away game. If she was in town, she came home late. If she was out, she left behind a note on the fridge and an extra bag of snacks packed for the kids in case I ran late too. Selah started calling Fridays Mom's mission days, like she was going undercover or on tour. Layla loved that. She'd play into it, give Selah a wink and say, "Agent L is reporting for duty." That was her gift. She never made the kids feel like they were second to her job. Even when she was tired, even when her back hurt or her phone didn't stop buzzing, she was present. When she was home, she didn't act like she had somewhere else to be. We had a rule, no phones at dinner. Layla respected that. Even when she had texts coming in from staff or late-night questions about a player's recovery plan, she let them wait. Micah once told me, "Mom's really strong, but soft, too." It stuck with me. He was 5. Didn't even know how to tie his shoes right yet, but somehow he already saw her clearer than most adults probably could. That month, I was working on a rebranding project for a mid-tier athletic wear company. Long hours, big pitch. I'd stay up late sketching logos and mocking up campaign boards. Layla would sometimes sit across from me at the kitchen table, editing her schedule for the week or folding laundry between bites of cereal. We didn't talk much those nights. But we didn't need to. There was comfort in the rhythm, the sound of typing, papers moving, one of us getting up to refill the water glasses. It was the quiet kind of partnership that just worked. We shared the weekends evenly. She usually had 1 day off, sometimes 2 if the team wasn't traveling. Saturday mornings were cartoons and pancakes. Sunday mornings were errands and music in the kitchen. We played records sometimes, real vinyl, the kind Layla had collected in college. She swayed while she cooked. Micah would try to dance and knock over a spoon or two. Selah rolled her eyes but joined in when she thought no one was watching. Our life wasn't glamorous, but it was full. Friends used to say we made it look easy, balancing kids, careers, travel, and marriage. I didn't think it was easy. I just thought we both wanted it bad enough to show up for it every day. Layla never gave me a reason to doubt her. She texted when she was running late. She answered her phone whenever I called. When she was on the road, she sent pictures from the arena tunnels or hotel balconies, goofy selfies with handwritten signs, "Hi Selah." "Hi Micah." "Hi Dad." There were no secrets in our house. And in the middle of all that noise and movement, bills paid, games watched, food shared, I felt settled. Not just with her, but because of her. Like we'd figured out something other people were still trying to build. Spring always made the house feel busier. Sayla had started soccer, Micah was in swim lessons, and I was in the middle of a rollout for a major campaign with one of our firm's biggest clients. Layla's team was pushing toward playoffs, which meant longer hours, more press, more attention on the staff keeping the players healthy. We'd see each other in passing some days. She'd be walking in with her gym bag while I was walking out with Micah. But we made it work. Sunday nights were our time. No matter how tired we were, we stayed up late after the kids were down. Ordered food, opened a bottle of wine, and caught up like it was the first date all over again. I'd ask about her week. She'd tell me which players were nursing what, how some of them never listened about hydration, and how she had to explain for the fourth time that a massage wasn't magic if you ignored recovery stretches. She always had stories. Funny ones. Ridiculous ones. Once she told me about a player who fell asleep mid-treatment and started snoring so loudly it echoed through the facility. Another time she said she caught two rookies using a massage table as a ping-pong platform before practice. It never felt like gossip, just snapshots of her day, shared freely. The kids loved having her home, even when it was just for dinner between shifts. Sayla would rattle off her spelling test results while Micah shoved building blocks into her lap, begging her to just build one tower. She always did. No matter how tired, how sore, how drained, she gave them that time. One night, I came downstairs after putting Micah to bed and found her asleep on the couch, one arm curled behind her head, the other holding a juice pouch the kids must have handed her earlier. She looked peaceful. Like everything was right. I stood there for a second before covering her with a blanket and turning off the TV. We took a family trip the following weekend, nothing big. Just a rented cabin in the mountains, a couple hours outside the city. Layla had cleared her schedule in advance. She didn't bring her work phone. That meant something. She even left her laptop behind. We hiked. Cooked over the fire. The kids screamed at bugs and threw rocks into the stream. At night, we all squeezed into one big bed under a giant comforter, Micah's feet in my ribs and Sayla snoring like a grown man. On the drive home, Layla held my hand for a full hour. Just rested her fingers between mine, eyes closed, music low. I kept glancing over at her, wondering how I got this lucky. Wondering how she made a job like hers, a life like this, all work in perfect sync. There were moments, tiny ones, where I thought about how much she gave, how much she carried. And I felt proud. Proud that she was mine. Proud that we were raising a family inside all this noise, and somehow, it didn't break us. It only made us tighter. It started with a bag. A small black duffel, newer than the one Layla usually carried to work. She had her usual gym bag, scuffed at the corners, patched at the zipper, the same one she'd tossed onto the couch 1,000 times. But this one was different. Sleek. Minimal. A logo I didn't recognize. I saw it one morning near the front door, just barely zipped. I reached to move it out of the way and caught a glimpse inside, not much, just a folded hoodie, a phone charger, and what looked like a half-used bottle of body wash. I zipped it closed, moved it to the bench, and forgot about it. Until the next morning, when it was gone. I asked her later, casually, "Hey, new bag?" She glanced up from her coffee and nodded. "Yeah, one of the players gave it to me. Sponsor freebie." Made sense. They got gear all the time. Still, something in the way she answered, just quick enough to move on, made me pause. Not because I suspected anything. Just, it felt a little different. Like she'd rehearsed it. That same week, she missed dinner 2 nights in a row. That wasn't strange in itself. The team was in a rough patch, lots of late practices and treatment sessions. But she usually texted updates, even if just a "running late" or "don't wait up." This time, nothing. I mentioned it Thursday night as we were getting ready for bed. You okay? You've been kinda ghost mode lately. She laughed and kissed my cheek. Sorry, it's just been nuts. We've had 3 guys go down with minor stuff, and everyone's freaking out. We're playing catch-up on treatment blocks. I believed her. She looked tired. And Layla never played the stress card unless she meant it. Still, the next morning I checked her side of the closet for that new bag. It wasn't there. Neither was the old one. I told myself it was probably in her car. That weekend, Micah had a birthday party to go to, and I took him solo because Layla said she had team duties. I assumed it was another recovery day or pre-game prep. But while we were at the park, Sayla asked, "Why doesn't Mom do the FaceTime dinners anymore?" That hit me. Because she used to, religiously. On nights she worked late, she'd call in around 6:30 to chat with the kids while they ate. Show them the court behind her or whatever skyline she was near. But now that Sayla mentioned it, I realized it had been a while. Just busy, I told her. She'll probably call tonight. She didn't. That night, after the kids were down, I sat on the couch and pulled up our shared family calendar. Her usual notes, game days, travel days, therapy blocks, had started disappearing. The next 2 weeks were mostly blank. It didn't make sense. Her schedule used to be tight, color-coded, full. I mentioned it when she came home. "Hey, your calendar's empty. Did the app glitch?" She gave me a tired smile. "Oh, I've been tracking it separately on my phone now. It's just easier with the new rotation." I nodded. Made sense. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something had shifted, not broken, not wrong, just out of sync. Not enough to confront. Just enough to notice. Layla changed her ringtone. I wouldn't have thought twice about it, except it wasn't just a new tone, it was silent. Her phone never made a sound anymore. Not a buzz, not a ping. It used to chime at least a dozen times a day, messages from teammates, staff, scheduling apps, reminders. But now. Dead quiet. I asked about it once while we were folding laundry. "Phone on silent these days?" She shrugged. "It gets distracting during treatments. I just check it between sessions." Reasonable. Still, I started noticing how often she checked it, at red lights, in the pantry, in the bathroom with the door closed. And never around me. One night I walked in while she was sitting on the edge of the bed with her phone in hand. The moment she saw me, she tilted the screen slightly away. Just a bit. Not obvious, but enough. She locked it before I even said anything. I told myself it was nothing. But the next day, she said she had a team dinner, staff only. That wasn't unusual. The team did mid-season meetings to regroup before long road stretches. But when she left, I glanced at her outfit. Not overdone. Just a little sharper than usual. Black top. Light makeup. New earrings. I said she looked good. She smiled, kissed me quickly, and left. She came home 3 hours later, said it went long. I didn't ask where they ate. I didn't ask who was there. She offered nothing. After she went upstairs, I checked the kitchen trash. Found the receipt before she thought to bury it, 2 drinks, 1 appetizer, 1 entree. No group. Just dinner. For 2. Still, I didn't say anything. That week, she started sleeping in later. Missing alarms. She'd never done that before. Layla was always up early, even on weekends. But now I'd find her still under the covers when I came back from walking the dog. Sometimes the shower was already running and she'd be curled up pretending to sleep. She said it was the weather. Allergies. A headache. Anything. One night, I offered to bring her dinner at the facility. She paused just a second too long before saying, "You don't need to, we're all eating in." That hesitation sat with me. I waited. An hour later, I drove to the facility anyway. The parking lot was mostly empty. The lights inside were on, but the front doors were locked. No noise. No players, no staff walking out with takeout boxes or gear bags. I texted her, "Still eating in?" She replied 7 minutes later, "Yeah, finishing up now." I drove home and said nothing. The next day, I went to do laundry and noticed something strange. Her usual practice gear, the sweats with the team logo, the branded tees she lived in, was gone. No new load in the hamper. Nothing drying. Just missing. I asked, "You doing laundry on your own now?" She looked up from her phone. "Yeah, didn't want to overload the machine with all the sweaty stuff. Started running it at the facility." Not a lie. But not something she ever did before. Every answer was good enough to believe, but not quite solid enough to feel right. And every time I got close to naming that discomfort, I pulled back. Because naming it felt like crossing a line. Like admitting that something might really be happening. Layla stopped saying goodnight. Not every night. Just here and there. It began with a few evenings where she claimed she was still wired and wanted to stay up and read or wind down in the living room. I'd go to bed and hear her still pacing downstairs an hour later, the soft shuffle of feet across hardwood, the faint buzz of her phone lighting up in intervals. Once or twice, I woke up and she still wasn't beside me. The next morning, she'd be back in bed, curled up like nothing happened. I stopped asking where she went after midnight. Whatever the answer was, I didn't want to hear it. The kids noticed the shift too. Micah asked if Mom was working more. Sayla started texting her instead of calling when she was at school, like she expected Layla not to answer. One night, we sat down to dinner, just the three of us, and Sayla said, "Do we have to wait for Mom again?" I told her no, then realized I had no idea what time Layla would be home. She didn't walk in until 10:40. Didn't explain why. Didn't apologize. Just kissed the top of my head on her way upstairs. The next morning, I asked what she was doing lately during her off hours. She gave a vague smile and said, "Player recovery takes time, babe. Everyone's beat up right now." She squeezed my shoulder and walked out before I could respond. She used to share everything, stories, gripes, inside jokes. But now, nothing. Not even the little things. One evening, I saw her standing in the hallway, scrolling on her phone, smiling at something. Not just a soft smile. A real one. The kind I hadn't seen from her in weeks. I waited to see if she'd tell me what it was. She didn't. When she caught me looking, she slid the phone into her pocket. Later that night, when I got up for water, I noticed her phone wasn't on her nightstand. She used to plug it in next to me. Now it followed her like a third arm. Even her clothes changed. Not dramatically. Just slightly different cuts. More cropped hoodies, tighter fits, athletic leggings she hadn't worn before. It could have been a new season of gear from the team. Could have been nothing. But it didn't feel like nothing. Her scent was different, too. New lotion maybe. Something floral, a little heavier than usual. The kind of change you make when you want to be noticed, not at home, but somewhere else. I started staying up after she fell asleep. Not to check her phone. Not to follow her. Just to think. About what this was turning into. She still touched me, a hand on my back in passing, a quick kiss at the door, but it was autopilot. There was no warmth in it anymore. No curiosity. No presence. I kept playing normal. Kept making breakfast, packing lunches, driving the kids, checking off grocery lists. But inside, I felt like I was carrying the marriage alone, dragging it across concrete while she walked beside me like nothing was wrong. The house was still full. But I'd never felt emptier inside it. It happened on a Sunday. The kids were playing outside, Selah tracing chalk flowers on the sidewalk, Micah driving toy trucks through the grass. I was inside, cleaning up after lunch, half listening to a podcast in the background. My phone buzzed on the counter. A Reddit notification. Odd. I didn't use Reddit much, mostly for design threads or tech updates, but this one caught my eye. It was a direct message from someone I didn't know. No subject. Just a link and 2 words. Check this. I shouldn't have clicked it. I really shouldn't have. But I did. The page opened to a thread titled, "You'll never believe who this basketball league staffer really is." There were 15 videos. 15. Each one labeled with a date and a player's jersey number. Each one showed Layla. With a different man. In a different room. In different clothes. Always her. Always them. Touching, straddling, kissing. Sometimes laughing. Sometimes whispering. One video even started with her in full team gear, the same black top she wore home last week. I watched maybe 30 seconds of the first one before I dropped the phone. My stomach flipped. My chest seized. My ears rang so loud I thought something had exploded outside. I picked the phone back up, hoping it was fake. It wasn't. Her voice. Her face. Her necklace, the one I gave her after Micah was born, bouncing against her chest as she leaned in, laughing like she had no idea the camera was even there. My hands were shaking. I locked myself in the downstairs bathroom and watched 3 more clips. I don't know why. Some part of me needed to confirm what my brain was already screaming. 15 players. 15 different times. This wasn't a one-time mistake. It was a system. A second life. A deliberate, intimate betrayal layered behind months, maybe years, of straight-faced lies and careful timing. I sat on the floor for a long time. I couldn't move. Couldn't cry. Couldn't breathe right. I heard the kids outside, laughing. I heard Layla's car pull into the driveway not even 20 minutes later. I didn't go out to greet her. I didn't even look at her. I just replayed the way she'd kissed my cheek the night before. The way she tucked the blanket over Micah before bed. The way she laughed on the phone with her team coordinator, while pacing in the hallway, probably texting one of the men in those videos. She came inside humming to herself. Said something about traffic. Something about dinner. I stared at her for a long time. I didn't say anything. Not yet. Not that night. Instead, I made copies. I downloaded every file. Took screenshots of the thread. Saved usernames. Backed everything up on a private drive. Sent it to a lawyer friend with no subject line. Because now I knew the truth. And soon. Everyone else would too. I didn't sleep that night. I just sat in the dark with headphones in, watching those videos over and over, not to torture myself, but to build the case. To absorb the full scale of it. To understand who she really was, who they really were, and what they thought they could get away with. I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to cry. I was going to burn the foundation they built their lies on. The next morning, Layla left early. Didn't say goodbye, didn't kiss me, didn't ask about the kids. Just grabbed her gear bag, probably the same one she'd taken into half the rooms I'd seen, and walked out. I stood in the window and watched her pull out of the driveway. And then I started the clock. First, I uploaded the videos anonymously. No faces. No names. Just context. Each clip watermarked with date, time, and team location, enough for anyone familiar with the league to piece together who was involved. I shared the link with a few sports journalists I trusted from work. No commentary, just, you should probably see this before someone else does. Then, I wrote one message. It went to every family member. Every friend. Every parent from Selah's school group who had once called Layla inspiring. Attached, a carefully written paragraph and the same link. Subject line, "This is who you've been inviting into your homes." It spread faster than I thought. By noon, I had 4 missed calls from her sister. 2 from Owen. 1 from my boss asking if I needed time off, for whatever this is. By 2 p.m., the Reddit thread was front-page trending. 100,000 views and climbing. Comments flooded in. People pieced it together. Player numbers matched rosters. Arena backdrops matched schedules. People knew. At 3:13 p.m., Layla texted me. "What did you do?" I didn't answer. Because by then, I was sitting in a lawyer's office across town, going over breach of contract language tied to player conduct and liability. See, I'd reached out to the League Association's internal ethics department too. With evidence. And names. Turns out, inappropriate conduct between team employees and athletes, especially when it spans half the roster, isn't something they brush under the rug anymore. By 5 p.m., a public statement was circulating. The franchise acknowledged the situation. 15 players were being suspended pending full investigation. The team season. Done. Disqualified from the championship under conduct violations. Sponsors began pulling out. Social media turned violent. And Layla? I don't know where she went that night. She didn't come home. I put the kids to bed early. Told them mommy had a late meeting. Then I sat down at the dining table and watched the story unravel in real time. Sports sites. Podcasts. Headlines like, "Franchise implodes overnight after mass scandal involving staff member, 15 players suspended, internal affair or organized cover-up, cheating, leaks, and lost titles. What just happened?" I didn't eat. Didn't blink. Just watched. Because this wasn't just about a marriage. This was about betrayal. By the person who shared my bed. By a professional institution that gave her cover. By every man who looked at my wife and saw something worth risking everything for. They wanted private moments. I gave them a public ending. By Monday morning, Layla was everywhere, and not in the way she'd ever dreamed. Every sports blog, gossip account, and morning talk show was dissecting the scandal. No one was protecting names anymore. Every video had been matched to a player, every player to a schedule, every schedule to a team massage session or travel event. People knew it was her. They called her the team therapist. The rotation. 15 for 15. The worst part? She still hadn't come home. But that didn't stop the fallout. By noon, the league had released its official ruling: all 15 players were suspended for 5 seasons. Not 1. Not 2. 5. The club was fined. Disqualified from the playoffs. Every franchise partner dropped out within 48 hours. Billboards were stripped. Merch pulled. Season ticket holders demanded refunds. The press called it a competitive disgrace. I called it closure. I filed for divorce that afternoon, fast-tracked, under grounds of public misconduct and reputational damage to minors. I attached the link to the videos in the filing. Our lawyer didn't flinch. He told me it would be uncontested before it even hit the docket. That night, Layla called. For the first time since the leak. She didn't ask if I was okay. She didn't ask about the kids. She went straight into panic. "Please," she said, "you have no idea what you've done." I laughed. "You're right. I had no idea what you were doing." "I was going to tell you," she said. "It just got out of hand." 15 times. Silence. "I lost everything," she whispered. I let that hang in the air. I wanted her to feel it. She started crying, not quiet, not soft. Ugly, guttural sobs like she had no idea where to aim her grief. They won't let me back into the building. I can't even log into my work email. They shouldn't, I said. Everyone's blaming me. They should. I didn't think. You thought enough to hide it. I hung up before she could say anything else. I didn't block her. I wanted her to see what came next. I posted once more that night. A photo of the kid sitting on the back porch, coloring with chalk. The caption read, "They still laugh. They still smile. Not every storm lasts forever." It went viral. Not for drama. For the calm. People needed to see someone survive this kind of betrayal and still protect peace. I got messages from strangers, hundreds of them. Some cheering me on. Some telling their own stories. Some just thanking me for not letting her hide behind silence. Layla tried to issue a statement 2 days later. She called it a lapse in professional judgment. The comments shredded her. Screenshots flooded in. Her past clients dropped her. Her license came under review. Old team contacts deleted her. Her inbox became a graveyard of rejection. One of the players tried to apologize online. Bad move. He was cut from the roster before he could finish the post. Everyone who touched this paid for it. But none more than her. Because this wasn't a scandal to clean up. This was a mirror, showing everyone who she really was behind the pressed scrubs and sweet professionalism. And now. The whole world had seen it. The media moved on faster than I expected. After a few weeks, the coverage started to shift. The headlines dulled, the outrage lost momentum. Another scandal, another headline. The internet churned and swallowed it all like it always does. But some things didn't go away. Layla never got her job back. Not with the team. Not anywhere. Her license was suspended, pending professional review, but no one was fighting to speed that process up. Her name was permanently tied to the scandal in every search result. The league was still reeling. The club lost all postseason eligibility for the next 2 years, and internal policy changed almost overnight. New hiring restrictions. Security upgrades. Code of conduct seminars pushed front and center. It wasn't about restoring the public's trust. It was about surviving the embarrassment. I stayed silent through it all. No interviews. No follow-ups. No reaction posts. I let it all burn behind me. The kids didn't know the full story, not yet. Sayla asked why mom didn't live here anymore, and I told her gently, she made choices that hurt people, and now it's my job to keep things safe for you and Micah. That seemed to be enough. For now. They adjusted better than I did. Sayla became fiercely independent, almost overnight. Micah grew clingier, quieter. But I kept us steady, mornings, school, snacks, hugs. Life went on. I cleaned the house from top to bottom. Not just physically, I stripped it of everything that held her imprint. Clothes, photos, decor. Even her spices. Her side of the closet sat empty for a week before I boxed it all and left it on her sister's porch. No warning. No explanation. She didn't try to contact me again after that last call. She got the message. The divorce finalized with full custody awarded to me. Visitation was conditional, supervised. She hasn't used it. Maybe she knows she wouldn't survive the look in our daughter's eyes. I started therapy. At first, it felt awkward, like I was rehearsing someone else's story. But eventually, I stopped saying, I should have seen it, and started asking, what happens next? I got answers. Not easy ones. But the kind that help you sleep. I reconnected with old friends. The ones who showed up. The ones who never needed the full story to say, we've got you. I owe them more than I can repay. And for the first time in a long time, I started running again. Just around the block. No music. Just air, shoes, ground, breath. It became my way of marking progress, proof that my legs, my lungs, my heart still worked after what she tried to collapse. I don't trust easily now. But I do live differently. I listen more. I check in with myself. I don't ignore red flags. I don't excuse tiredness for absence. I don't confuse consistency with loyalty. What she broke wasn't my spirit. It was my illusion. And I'm better without it. The kids and I started a new ritual on Friday nights, pancakes for dinner, silly movies, and everyone sleeps in the living room. We call it Fortnite, not for games, but for the blanket fortress we build out of couch cushions and old sheets. It's messy. Loud. Nothing like the life I thought I wanted. But it's real. And it's ours. And no one's going to take it from us again.